Travis was a domesticated chimpanzee who wore clothes, ate at the table, and even drank wine. In 2009, he attacked one of his closest friends in a state of confusion and frenzy and ripped her face off in what is still considered a mysterious attack. This is the insane story of Travis the chimp. Travis was adopted in the early 2000s by a woman called Sandra, who got him from an abusive animal sanctuary that would forcefully breed chimpanzees and sell the babies to the general public. Travis was drastically humanized. She took him to work with her, to the movies, and even tried to get him on TV. Here he is starring in a Pepsi commercial. His favorite food was apparently lobster tail, filet mignon, and ice cream. Now, as you can imagine, all of this attention really got the public's interest, and he was very popular in his hometown of Stamford, Connecticut. The police knew about him because of an incident that happened a few years prior where a pedestrian threw an empty Coke can that hit Travis on the head while he was driving with his owner. Travis freaked out, unbuckled his safety belt, and chased after the guy. Police were called, and it took the police 2 hours to eventually calm the ape down and get him back into his car. Travis became too domesticated. He started sleeping in his owner Sandra's bed. She would bath him and wash his ass. She would allow him to play on their computer and surf the internet, which is like insane to me. Could you imagine this guy being a Reddit moderator? I mean, it kind of does make sense. By 2009, Sandra became obsessed with the monkey. She lost her daughter and her husband, and she fell into a bit of a depression. Because of this, she got lazy with what she was feeding Travis, and she started feeding him junk food and frozen meals. Because of this, he got pretty fat. He had these big chimp boobs, and normally chimps are pretty jacked. They have the strength of like 5 men, but not Travis. He was a fatty dude. And this genuinely caused him to become depressed, and it made his hairline recede. He became super unhealthy, super unhappy, and quite irritated and agitated. On the 16th of February 2009, Sandra took one of her friends, Charla Nash, to the casino with her. Charla had been living at the house with Travis for 4 years and knew him very well. Sandra and Charla stopped at the hairdresser on their way to the casino, where Charla got her hair colored and curled. Many think that it was this that caused Travis not to recognize her. After a little bit of gambling, the two of them come home to a very agitated Travis. Sandra goes inside of her house, and Travis takes her car keys and goes outside. Charla then offers to go and get him. She goes outside and she holds up his favorite toy, a red Tickle Me Elmo. She goes, "Hey Travis, come on, it's okay, come inside." But because of the change of hair color, some people think that Travis didn't recognize her, and he had her favorite toy. And out of nowhere, he stood up on his 2 feet and attacked Charla Nash. He took her body, threw it against the car, and out of nowhere just started clawing at her skull. Within seconds, her entire head was covered in blood because Travis was ripping and biting off her face. Sandra tried to intervene by hitting Travis over the head with a shovel a few times, and she even stabbed him 3 times in the back with a butcher's knife, but nothing helped. She then decided to call 911.
What's the problem with your friend? I need to know.
The police come! With a gun! With a gun! He ripped her face off!
He ripped her face off?
He tried to attack me! Please,
Okay,
hurry!
I need you to calm down a little bit. They're on the way.
Please, hurry up! He's killing my girlfriend! You gotta kill this chimp! He's killing my friend!
Who's killing your friend?
Chimp, my chimpanzee! She's dead! She's dead!
Why are you saying that she's dead?
She's dead! He ripped her apart!
He ripped what apart? Her face?
Everything!
When officers arrived, Travis approached the car looking extremely angry. He tried to open up the driver's side door when he was shot 7 times at point blank range. He didn't even die immediately. That's how strong chimpanzees are. Instead, he turned around, bleeding profusely, ran into his house, went up to his little room, sat in his bed, and died. Charla's injuries were insane. Travis had bitten or torn away her eyelids, nose, jaw, lips, and most of her scalp. He'd broken nearly all of the bones of her facial structure, and he'd fully removed one of her hands and virtually all of the other. He also rendered her blind. Sandra, the owner of Travis, passed away a year later. She was a broken woman who the media became obsessed with. They blamed her for the attack and was eventually sued by Charla Nash for $50 million. They eventually settled on $4 million. Charla has undergone almost 100 different surgeries to try and repair her face since that day. She has successfully received a facial transplant, but when she first arrived at the hospital, she had to undergo a 72-hour non-stop surgery, and everybody who worked on her face in those 72 hours had to receive traumatic counseling afterwards. She is still alive, thank goodness, and she's a huge advocate and spokesperson for not trying to domesticate wild animals. The property in which Sandra and Travis lived in throughout his life was written about in the New York Magazine. I would like to include this in its entirety. 241 Rockrimmon Road remains almost exactly as it was the day Sandy left, held in limbo by order of the court. Rumors abounded after Sandy's death that along with jewelry, antiques, and other valuables, somewhere in the ramshackle house she had secreted $80,000 in cash, and burglars broke in 5 times in the first 2 months. The gigantic addition is frozen in mid-construction exactly as it had been that February day, its windows still glassless so that leaves and small drifts of snow blot its unfinished floor. The life-size stuffed chimpanzee that sits in the oversized chair in Travis's room, gazing out the window to the backyard and the woods beyond it. A few miles away is a cemetery that has no tombstone. A plot there belongs to the Heralds. Besides Jerry, inside a sealed coffin, Sandy Herald wears an animal print shirt and tight jeans distressed from ankle to hip. Her fingernails are painted pink and her hands rest atop her abdomen. Against her one side stands an urn containing the ashes remains of her daughter Susan. On the other, in the same urn she'd slept with every night since that day in February, are Travis's.